Kate Hardcastle MBE, a business advisor from West Yorkshire who did meet parking. Let's speak to her this morning. Morning, Kate. Thanks for joining us so soon here on BBC Radio Leeds.
Oh, good morning. Yeah, such sad news this morning, though. What a day of reflection.
Yeah, it is. And of course, we saw you tweeted straight away a picture of you and Sir Michael Parkinson. When was that exactly? When did you meet Parky?
A couple of times, actually. I think that picture was from when we were having a good old chat, both down on the Sky Studios. Sir Michael had just come in to do some interviews about his beloved sport, and I was there obviously covering the business side of news. But as soon as he heard the dulcet tones of the Yorkshire accent, that's it. He was straight onto the fact that we were kindred spirits, and we were talking about my dad's love of rugby league, and of course our mutual friend in Harry Gratian. Again, very missed, and that's really struck me this morning, actually, that Sir Michael and Harry knew each other very well, and it was great to have the conversation with both of them about how respected each were in each other's company. And I think, for me, Sir Michael was always my childhood, really. I mean, I remember the interviews with Billy Connolly particularly, and just laughing out loud in the family home on Saturday and Sunday nights, and he was so treasured in that space. And I think when you are an interviewer as your good self and you make the job look so easy, people don't appreciate just how talented and skilled you really are. But that was the brilliance, I think, just how he had the ability, as you said, from Hollywood stars to back on the sports field, being able to get the best out of everyone.
I love that idea of the two of you instantly gravitating towards the accent. I mean, that's one of the things about Park. An accent that was never dulled. It was quite obvious where Sir Michael was from in South Yorkshire, and that voice on primetime TV is a great thing to hear it, and especially when you're from that neck of the woods, you love to hear it, don't you?
They absolutely do. It happens all over the world, and I think it's just a really special accent. I think sometimes we're shamed on it, not as often these days, but certainly earlier on, people would write every time I did a TV appearance and say things like, well, it'd be great. We couldn't really understand you. It'd be great if you could speak with RP and speak with a proper accent. And I did speak to him about that, as I did Harry as well, actually, and just that reassurance that accents and dialects and being proud of where you're from is just a really brilliant thing to do. It's all about who you are inside and the skill set. And I think, again, just an advocate for our region and somebody that we could go to for advice and support, and was so willing with his time, both times I met him, just to sit and have a chat and give any advice very openly.
You mentioned about his interview technique and skill. I would suggest for someone like that in that kind of role where you're interviewing people massively high profile from all different walks of life and people who you won't have had chance to speak to before necessarily, say a Hollywood A-lister coming in, you haven't had a big chat beforehand about what you're going to do. I guess the key, the knack, the real skill is to make the person you're speaking to feel comfortable. Because the more comfortable they feel, the more that they're going to relax and the best you're going to get out of them. And he really was the master of doing that. When you see those interviews and you talk about some of those iconic ones that really made you laugh, you got elements and little nuggets from people that you wouldn't normally get. And that was all down to his interviewing style.
100%. And I think people do take it for granted. We watch a TV interview or we'll listen to you on radio and we think, yeah, that's the information I needed, or how that was an interesting information from the person being interviewed. But the job of the interviewer actually to try and get those facts, those pieces of information, and particularly when it's somebody who is so coveted, big Hollywood star, big names, trying to get them relaxed, comfortable. When they're doing press interviews day in, day out, they often can tire of it. It feels like it's the same conversation time and time again. I think to have the skill of making it so personable and to show care and kindness and respect, I think that was the key, that generally there was a respect there, mutuality in interviewer and interviewee. And it's just a skill to watch. It's something I absolutely love doing. And any time those interviews are replayed, as I said, I was just recently watching the Billy Connolly ones, just two masters at work, an absolute joy to watch.
I mentioned earlier as well that a lot of those interviews, so I was born in the 80s, right? So a lot of those were pre then. But so many of them kind of live on in clips because they were so incredible. And obviously a lot of his later stuff also. But there are amazing clips that will kind of live on as his sort of legacy. That one of my favourites is later than 70s, is the David Bowie one where actually Bowie's doing the Yorkshire accent and he's talking about his bandmates wearing makeup and how they didn't want to do it, and then they were like, oh actually the ladies quite like this, where's the mascara? And it's just a great bit of TV, and it's obviously got them sparring with the Yorkshire accent as well. It's fantastic.
It's a celebration, isn't it? I remember the interview exactly as you're talking about, because it's so replayed, and that's the credit, really. That just shows how good they were. I don't know, because people are so media trained these days, whether you're going to get the same type of openness and honesty. It must be very difficult for you, particularly trying to chisel into some of those interviews. But I think that just shows the skill, it shows the humanity, and it shows the actual personability of the person behind each one. And that's what we want. We want human stories. Beside the gloss and the glamour, we actually just want to know the human underneath. And I think that will always be something I respect in people who are the best of the best. But to feel that you were amongst greatness and just to have someone treat you as like, we just met down a pub in Yorkshire and have a proper old chat. Both times I saw him, he was so gracious with his time, and it was just lovely. And he gave a lovely message to my dad, which meant a lot to him as well. So that was just a really kind moment with him.
Kate, just one final question for you, which is, it's great to see also when you're growing up in Yorkshire and you see prominent people from this area successful, that kind of inspires other people to do the same, doesn't it?
It really does. Yeah, it really does. We should never be ashamed of where we're from. We should be utterly proud. I spend a lot of time working internationally. I still feel like I'm putting Yorkshire on the map a lot of the times, because when you get to somewhere like America, people tend to know London, Manchester, maybe Edinburgh. They know Wrexham a lot these days as well, because of the TV show with the Wrexham FC. But, Yorkshire still needs putting on the map. So we have a job to do. But I do feel as a proud ambassador, and I should never, ever change my view on that. So yeah, hearing that Yorkshire dulcet tones definitely radiating through the radio or TV is a wonderful feeling. And every time I get back home to the UK, Radio Leeds is straight on, because I get to hear the accent, and it's glorious. That's
what we do. Hey, thank you so much for so soon just taking a little bit of time for us this morning and giving your thoughts and memories. Actually, that's a great photo. Really, really lovely photo. If you're on it's not even called Twitter now anymore, is it? It's called X. If you're on X, whatever it is, just at Kate Hardcastle, you see the photo. It's a lovely thing that you'll be able to cherish. And thanks for giving us a bit of an insight as someone who met Parky. Really appreciate your time this morning here on BBC Radio Leeds.
Take care. Bye-bye.
No worries. There you go. Kate Hardcastle, MBE.